Today in the crypto space, we see the market taking a bit of a break here. Bitcoin and Ethereum going sideways. Bitcoin at about 42,700 and Ethereum right around that $2,300 mark. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, are a mix of green and red. Of course, there are a few dips. Look at ICP and a few rallies to the upside. Look at IMX. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin that I am looking for a great entry, and that project is called Mintlayer. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. And of course, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. All right, guys, let's take a look at this market first. We'll look at the top 100 to see what the market has been giving us in the last little while. We'll take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator to give us an idea of where this market could be going based off of Bitcoin's lead. And then today's video. Today's video is all about Mintlayer. I want to see exactly where I would be looking for a buy the dip opportunity. Mintlayer has been picking up a little bit of interest throughout the market, and I definitely want to be prepared with a buy opportunity, but I got to make sure that we're buying in at the bottoms, not the top. So we'll take a look at Mintlayer very, very soon. All right, guys, let's begin. We got Bitcoin kind of going sideways. We got a bit of a rally earlier on today. I think it was just a bit of a sweep of the highs, and then all of a sudden rejection back to the structure. Guys, Bitcoin still going sideways, not doing anything really interesting, and Ethereum pretty much doing the same thing. However, still showing a little bit more strength, just a little bit more strength in comparison to Bitcoin. So we're going to keep an eye on Ethereum. We'll keep an eye on the Bitcoin dominance. Tonight, we'll take a look at the Bitcoin dominance to make sure that everything's under control here, because ultimately, if Bitcoin loses its dominance over the market, we could expect that the altcoins are going to get their season. I just want to be prepared here, guys, that we have our bags packed, ready to go with some of the bullish altcoins in preparation for an altcoin season. Of course, Mintlayer could be one of them. All right, what else do we have here? We have Solana going sideways, BNB getting a bit of a dip here. And you can see that the market is pretty much sideways with a few anomalies. Of course, Chainlink looking strong, still up another 4% here. Really good for the overall narrative, the Oracle narrative, looking pretty good. We have Tron grinding to the upside still, but, you know, it's only up 5% in the last 7 days. So we got to hang out there and just expect that Tron might be continuing to the upside, nice and slow and steady. Polygon Matic going sideways, Polkadot going sideways. We have Toncoin going sideways. A lot of projects are still kind of going sideways. Now, what do you expect when there's a bit of bearishness or a bit of negativity in that Bitcoin price? Obviously, if Bitcoin does roll over and come down to those lower levels, people are going to be looking to de-risk. And of course, the risk is in the altcoins. So if Bitcoin looks weak, altcoins suffer. If Bitcoin dumps, altcoins suffer. The question is, what happens when Bitcoin finds its bottom? Do altcoins outperform Bitcoin upon a recovery? And that could be a good sign of an altcoin season. So what we really want to see is Bitcoin continue to go sideways, to be honest. Bitcoin going sideways is good because the market looks boring. People get frustrated. They start looking for other alternatives to find volatility. And of course, altcoins will give you that volatility. And as you can see, altcoins at the current moment are also kind of going sideways and not really doing much. We have IMX looking okay, up 12% today in the last week, which is pretty good. Optimism, part of the Ethereum narrative, looking pretty good, up 2%, while the rest of the market's not looking the greatest. BitTensor Tau is still grinding away here. It's up 3% today. 20% in the last 7 days. I still feel like BitTensor at the current moment is short-term overvalued. I think that a dip would be great. I think a buyout opportunity at lower levels could be an opportunity to pack a bag, especially if you're on the sidelines. Just understand that BitTensor Tau has been running up really, really hard in the last little while, and it could be very possible that the market is looking for exit liquidity. So be very, very careful here with Tau. You guys know how bullish I am, but I cannot recommend it to a friend to be buying in on green price action. Okay, so be careful here with your entries on Tau, or even get defensive, protect those gains, trail up a stop loss, take 10% off the top, do what you got to do to protect those gains, because the market's going to want to take them back from you. Filecoin coming down to bottom of the range type of thing. Filecoin's bullish. I'm just waiting for great opportunities. H-bar sideways, Caspa sideways. A lot of the market is sideways. Sui is still showing strength here, guys. You got to admit. It attempted for a higher high. Could be possible. Ultimately, it's another project that I can't fathom buying into this green price action, guys. Just understand that the market could be looking for exit liquidity also on Sui, even on Sei. Sei has been retracing a little bit more than Sui, obviously because the pump on Sei started a little bit earlier, and maybe you're just a little bit far gone into its cycle. Maybe right now it's in a retracement mode. It's down approximately 11.5%. So I'm not going to be buying into Sei at the current moment. I feel like I want to see if Sei can hold a good level of support first and let it finish its retracement. I don't want to rush things. I want to see oversold conditions. I want to see Sei at a level where, you know, a good portion of the market is going to be basically inducing a bit of max pain here. We want to see the market a little bit in pain, and that's when I'm interested to be buying in on liquidation. So I'm going to be waiting here on Sei. Even Render's pulling back a little bit, down 7% here. So overall, it's about being patient, especially on one of those some of these top gainers in the last little while. What else do we have? Thorchain waking up a little bit. Tokenized exchange looking pretty good here, up 5%, and the list goes on here, guys. You can see a lot of sideways price action. Not really interested currently at the moment. Big Ed token looking pretty good here. Good indication that people are looking to get on exchanges. Ronin finally getting a bit of a pullback, down 16.5% in the last 24 hours. You guys know that I'm looking for an entry. You guys know that I'm looking for an entry on Ronin, but I'm going to be very patient here as well, because I think this first little initial, dump here is just the beginning. So I'm going to be patient here. I'm going to be looking at Ronin in the next little while. I'll put it on my watch list, and of course, I'll give you an update of when I think we should be scaling into Ronin. I like the idea. I like the gaming narrative, a blockchain that specializes in gaming, and we have Axie Infinity all up in there. So that's a really good thing. So ultimately, I'm looking for entries, and a lot of the projects. I'm not just looking for entries on Ronin. Mintlayer is one of them. I wouldn't mind buying a little bit of Blur, but of course I want to see a retracement. CFX is another one that I like, and I wouldn't mind seeing more retracements. Now, of course, patience. I don't know if I'm going to be getting all these entries at lower levels, but this is why DCAing is a good strategy here, guys. You see that the market's showing a bit of weakness. Just be prepared to be buying those dips. And of course, where is the bottom, guys? We don't know. No one can tell you the future. No one is a fortune teller. However, what we can tell you is that the halving is around the corner. And as a catalyst of the major bull run, it could be an opportunity that we see is the last opportunity to be buying the dips on the next retracements. So this is what I'm going to be doing here, guys. I'm going to be looking for retracements across the market, looking into projects that I didn't get good entries on, DCAing, and having those convictions to be buying at lower levels as the price falls. You know, dollar cost average is the best way to do it in this current moment. And if you think about it, if we're going to be entering a bull run, you have to have those convictions, and you have to understand that this is the time to take risk right before the bull run. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at in the next little while here on the channel is entries, and looking at smaller cap projects, of course, keeping our eye on those volatile potential gains in those micro caps. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's begin taking a look at Bitcoin. What's happening here in the last little while shows us that we are potentially creating this confirmation of a lower high. We had a nice big high right here. We got a big rejection, nice follow through, and in fact, we made a lower low here. We broke this structure to the downside, and now all of a sudden we're making a confirmation high, a lower high. Now, what else could we expect here from Bitcoin? Do we start changing trends here and using this as a pivot point? Very, very possibly. Okay, so what happens is that the bears are currently looking for confirmations. And the more confirmations they get, obviously, the more aggressive they get. You have to understand that this is not looking good. If we get rejected at this point, we're making a lower high. A lower high after a high, a lower high, a low, a lower low, lower highs and lower lows. The trend is your friend. We're coming down, guys. And the reality is that the market coming down at this current moment would be absolutely healthy. It's not a bearish thing. It's a healthy retracement from a nice rally that Bitcoin did experience based on the ETF news, right? The news actually was fulfilled. We got our ETF. Now what? Now the next narrative should be Ethereum, given the fact that a lot of people are talking about an Ethereum ETF. And if that's going to be the case, we should see Ethereum swell up a little bit. We should see this altcoin season come around just based on that catalyst. But in the meantime, you could expect that Bitcoin could suck a bit of the liquidity out of the market based off of fear. If Bitcoin does come down and make that lower low, guys, we're expecting the market in general to take a bit of a hit. Now, the recuperation, what is going to recuperate harder? If our altcoins are going to recuperate with a little bit more conviction, that's yet to be seen. But ultimately, seeing Bitcoin at this current state, getting a rejection, potentially coming down and making a lower low is not looking good. I'm still looking at about 33 to about 31, right around this level, maybe at about 32K. That for me would be a great area to potentially buy some dips. And I'm not going to be buying Bitcoin at that level. There's no way. I'm going to be looking at altcoins because they're going to get severely undervalued. And I'm going to be looking at the most bearish scenario for me would be at the bottom of this range, which would be at about 25K, which we could have. Ultimately, it would be a break of this trend. It would be still a higher low. It would still be a back test of this big breakout W that we've had right here. And it would be a level where we would expect a lot of the Bitcoin bulls to experience some max pain. And for me, that is usually where you get the best prices. So 25K, I want to make sure that I have some capital reserve to buy the dips at about 25 and change. And of course, at about 32, 33, around this level, when we see the momentum on the daily oversold with signs of bullish divergence, I'm going to be scaling in to some of those altcoins even harder, guys, doubling down and making sure that I have capital reserve to buy those dips. All right, guys, let's move on. That's my take on Bitcoin. We'll talk about Bitcoin tonight, of course. Ethereum, Bitcoin dominance. Join me live tonight at 7:30 Eastern. Let's begin. Let's take a look at Mintlayer. ML is the ticker. Guys, this is a project that I'm interested in. Now, price action wise, it ran up pretty good. Now, this is the first run up. This is the first leg to the upside. This was the TP zone where I said, take a little bit of profit here, guys. Protect your gains. But as you can see, that was a bit frothy. Multiple highs here on the momentum. RSI nice and peaked, and multiple drives of bearish divergence. Class B bearish divergence all throughout these tops. Now, when you see these types of scenarios, you have to have the convictions to say, look, I'm long-term bullish on Mintlayer or whichever project. But ultimately, you're here to protect the gains. The market is going to want to take them back from you. And the reality is, has begun. The retracement has begun, and you can see the little bit of a dip that we have had. Now, from the top to where we are currently, you're looking at about a 45% correction. 45% is not bad, but it could be that we see a bit more. I like the fact that the current level is pretty much confluent with this top right here, excluding the wicks, obviously. If you exclude the wicks, you got nice bodies here, double top bodies, and basically this could be a nice level of horizontal support. What I don't like is that the reality is there's not much volume into this. There's not much. The most of the volume is all the way down here. Now, if you look at this very carefully, I'm going to try my best to fit this in. And you look at the volume profile, I'm going to try to make this. You can see that we have a bit of volume right here. It's so very faint. Let me try to see if I can get more of it in as best as I can to exaggerate all of this. And you can see that we do have a bit of price action right here. Then we got an empty space. This empty space usually is where magic happens. We get support, we could get resistance, we get some sort of empty volume gap that acts as support or resistance. And below it, we got more price action. So the reality is that we got a level here that we got to watch out for, which is the bottom of the volume gap and the top of this volume gap. Now, like I said, I had to drastically exclude previous price action to see this and to consider it as a spot. It's pretty much a weak spot. You can see that there's very low volume in this spot, which means that if we start breaking down, we can come down to these levels, which for me is a great buy opportunity for sure. But the only thing that keeps me reserved here for further levels to the downside is the fact that the RSI is not oversold. And the fact is that it is still pushing to the downside. Now, we could go sideways here for a bit of a consolidation, even in momentum and price, and we can see it go sideways, which means in this zone, we're going to see the price go sideways. Not a very interesting time to be trading. And there's going to be a lot of people getting trapped into the zone, maybe looking for a bullish move to the upside based on the 4-hour, maybe a bit of momentum to the upside. That's all very possible. But what really concerns me, if I'm going to get into a long position is that eventually, maybe after a bit of a consolidation and sideways price action, we get oversold and get down to these levels right here. And that is when you see a lot of bearishness, a lot of red, and you'll get the fire sale. So if we compare this to price action, what that really means is that we could go sideways into this volume gap. We could get a bit of a bounce into this volume gap. We could get a reaction definitely into this volume gap, even based off of the 4-hour time frame. But ultimately, guys, if we get oversold and see the price get oversold, it's very likely that we start touching the 31-cent zone, maybe even as low as about 20 cents. We do have the 200 daily EMA here creeping up right behind here, and you can see that it could be possible that we flatline after a while. After a while, we see this price go sideways. We'll see the 200 daily also kind of go sideways into one of these, and this definitely does happen over time, and we could see something like this and then come down and then, you know, maybe touch this level of horizontal support and maybe even break down a little bit down here and get to about 33 cents. For me, that would be an optimal zone to take risk. Why? Because we have the top of the volume gap, and if you notice, right into this level, we went straight up as a breakout, back tested it, and continued to the upside. And at this level, we do have an empty weak spot that suggests that the bulls are going to want to protect that 33 cent zone. And if it falls through the volume gap, that would be a buy the dip opportunity that the bulls would want to protect as well, which is at about 20 cents. And you can see this previous high could act as support. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that although we are potentially in a zone to go sideways, the trade has to be done on the 4-hour. If we get a bounce here, it's going to be in and get out, or at least trail up the stop loss and protect yourself, because as a 4-hour trade, it could be short-lived. It could be double topped, even a lower high, and then come down, and then you see the bigger retracement or the continuation to the downside. Based on this daily time frame, like I'm saying, it could definitely get oversold and come down to oversold conditions on this RSI, and which means that we could come down to lower levels. So that's exactly what I'm waiting for here on Mintlayer, is to make sure that I'm not buying even mid-stride to the downside. I want to make sure I'm getting in at somewhat of a bottom. Now, if we look at the 4-hour, the 4-hour is looking good. We got slightly oversold. We got a bit of relief, and now we're coming back down and we're going choppy. Now, it does look like class A bullish divergence here on the 4-hour. If you follow these bodies of candles right here, you can see that we're slightly making lower lows, right? It's very clear. Let me kind of rearrange this a little bit. Very clear, nice lower lows, beautiful. Now, if you look at the momentum stemming from here, it is making higher lows. So we're going in the opposite direction, and that's class A bullish divergence on the 4-hour at potential good horizontal support. You can see we got the tops, and we got this top right here, and we got some, you know, a volume gap that usually act as support. So based on the 4-hour time frame, we could be looking for a little move to the upside, and we could be seeing this EMA cross with the green histogram bar any moment, and finally see these EMAs in the bullish control zone, which is on the top half of the MACD. Okay, so that's what we're really looking for. But again, if that's the case, we're going to get a quick pop to the upside, and I'll be quick to take profits right about 26 cents. What does that really mean? 76 cents. Sorry. What does that really mean? Trail up a stop loss, take 10% off the top, let the rest run. And as soon as you start seeing overbought conditions with bearish divergence on the 4-hour, start taking profits, start protecting yourself, because again, the daily could be looking for a quick bounce to the upside and then a continuation where we start seeing at lower levels and oversold conditions here on the daily. Now, the only reservation that I have with oversold conditions on the daily is that the bull run is around the corner, and these retracements that we're looking for, these deep corrective moves, eventually are going to come to an end, and we are not going to get 786, 886 retracements. We're going to be lucky if we get a 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, and it's most likely in a bull run that we get, you know, perhaps a 38% retracement and be done with it. You know, retracements such as, 30% retracements are great breathers and profit-taking opportunities. But the question is, are we in a bull run? Did we get the beginning of the bull run? It's very possible that that's the case, but until Bitcoin shows us a confirmation low, a confirmation bottom, a lot of us are going to be very skeptical. And as long as there's skepticism, there's going to be individuals holding a bit of capital on the side, ready to deploy at lower levels, because we want to make sure that we are not scaling in a little bit too early. That skepticism is basically the fear that we have that we come down and make fire sales that need to be bought. guys, right now Mintlayer is in the path to the downside. I would be very careful here, and I would be looking for absolute confirmations at this current level at about 33 cents. For me, that's the first target that I'm looking at, and of course I'll keep you posted on any updates along the way as we see it. Guys, make sure that you join that Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and of course I'm going to be live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, where we're going to talk about crypto news and price action. If you have any projects, that is a great time and place to make the requests, and I'll put them in top priority. Take care, guys. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.